moving
I
on.
don't think it's. I think it's more of a business decision than a conscious. Hi, you're with India Post Live, India's first online news conversation web TV. I'm Ishan Russell, and India Post is, of course, a forum for you to participate in. Come in via social media, use Twitter, hashtag India Post Live to your tweets, or use our Twitter handle at India Post Live, or you can use Facebook. We have a Facebook page, India Post Live, and you can go like it, leave a comment, or post a comment over there. Also, IndiaPostLive.com is there. That's our website. You can watch this video live right now, or you can watch the other videos that are there available for you as well, and a wall for you to comment upon. So you go and participate in case you want to come in and participate in this conversation, because it's a very interesting one, I promise. You can come in via Google Hangout and Skype as well. So the topic that we've chosen today is rather interesting because it's not a topic that many people have talked about, but on the internet it's slowly becoming a rage. There are more and more voices talking about whether Disney's taken a feminist turn. Yes, Disney, that big animation studio, from Snow White to the Seven Dwarfs to Maleficent and Frozen, that is the kind of genre that Disney spans over the years, over the decades. And what has that been for Disney? Well, we'll take you through the ages as far as Disney and its identity and its idea of a woman is concerned.
Beautiful, fragile, and in constant need of a man's help. That is how Disney has portrayed its female protagonists for several decades. But times have changed, and so has Disney.
I am Merida, and I'll be shooting for my own hand.
From Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, released in 1937, to the most recent Maleficent, Disney seems to have taken a step towards more powerful female characters.
I shall bestow a gift on the child.
Reviews of the 2013 film Frozen say the film depicts strong female characters without resorting to characterizing them as violent or capable of violence as the only way to portray strength. From storylines revolving only around singing and dancing to actually touching upon the issue of rape and violence against women, Disney seems to be letting go of the fairy tale concepts it has been teaching young girls all these years. So films like Brave, Frozen and Maleficent portray women who are no longer submissive and are perhaps a reflection of women's role in the new millennia. Can they be labeled feminist?
Is it true? Are you Maleficent?
So is this real feminism, or is it just jumping to conclusions? We'll talk about that with Zora Zeba. She's an independent filmmaker. Thanks very much for coming in, Zora. We also have with us Devika Singh. She's a film enthusiast. And on Google Hangout, we're joined by Namita Sethi. She's an engineer and a film enthusiast. And Ursula Ali is also with us. She's a student of journalism at the Jamia University. So Zora, I'll start with you. I mean, is it feminism? Has Disney become feminist?
I mean, over the course of time, yes, I can say so. Like, I mean, since it's been pointed out, like already the three movies, Brave, Frozen, and now Maleficent. I mean, even a movie which does not come under this genre, like Beauty and the Beast. Belle as a character, I mean, she could swing a sword, right? And she could read, and this was something which appealed to the Beast. I mean, the whole trope of feminism is emerging and evolving every day, and I mean, I mean,
but isn't that the key? I mean, the fact that you had Pocahontas and Mulan and all these people who, or even Jasmine for that matter, from the Aladdin series, wasn't really just dependent on the man, who could really do hold her own in a fight.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. It's kind of evolving. The shift is of course gradual. I mean, what I've been harped upon as a kid, like, you know, what I've grown up on fantasies, you know, I mean, my whole marriage couldn't depend on the fact that whether my shoe size is, I mean, I could fit my shoe in a certain size or not, right? I mean, I'm referencing Cinderella, right? So it was kind of different for me, like, and now that I'm seeing Maleficent, it's totally different. It's more about the woman bond as such. And now, as of now, we've had certain tests and everything. You know, you must have heard about the Bechdel test, wherein if there are two women engaging in a conversation, do they actually talk anything but man? So, right? I mean, and do you have films like that? I mean, do girls actually talk about their own stuff apart from men? Does it happen? Very few films can fall on that, and then you don't have a lot of viewership about it.
All right.
Yeah, so that's that. I mean, at least for me, and using the trope of animation, I think Disney is slowly evolving.
All right,
Yeah.
slowly evolving. Do you think? Do you agree with that, Devika?
I'm gonna take the conversation to a few other places. It was
Yeah.
very interesting hearing you taking this conversation there. First, I would like to question the whole idea of why are we talking about it as a feminist thing. But I just think it's the fact that this is the way the women are evolving, and usually I think the consumers of cinema and the people who were really watching it were men, were male. It was a very male gaze that you had at movies before. So you can see that it's just that in the public sphere, a larger sphere is being taken by women who are now not inside the household, but they are going out, they're working, they're evil characters, they have multiple personalities. And I think movies have always reflected what's the changes that are happening in the popular domain, and that's the way Disney is shifting as well, and that's the way you can see it in Hindi cinema, for example, or any other cinema. So rather than seeing that it's about feminism particularly, I think it's just the changing trends of the ways contemporary society is
Mirrored by
evolving.
society, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the basic fact of putting a tag of feminism on it then would be a little jumping to conclusion. Then I would.
Or
say.
rather
But
than
it's not been concluded as such. I mean, it's just a different shift, I guess. I mean, it's slowly going towards and getting there, but it's not that we have actually achieved it.
I think
right?
that what Devika would say would hold true, that till the time society is not completely like that, the movies won't be like that. I want to get an Ursula in on that. Ursula, would you agree with that? That till the time society does not accept women as equals, I mean, why would they be the main protagonist? Or even if they are the main protagonist, why would they have the nature of a hero, the characteristics of a hero?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
I was saying whether society, till the time society itself does not change. I mean, or as we were discussing over here, cinema reflects ultimately the change in society, and ultimately till the time society change, true feminism as far as cinema and for that matter Disney or animation goes will not happen.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with them. Like, because in the 40s we had Disney with Minnie Mouse and Daisy Duck, which were actually just to sort of give company to the main characters, which were Mickey Mouse and Daffy Duck. And then we had, more like a gradual shift towards stronger characters like Mulan, who really didn't need any, like a male companion to kind of prove what she was doing. It was very different from what Disney traditionally did, like have a romantic, a plot which is kind of the main theme. So definitely, as society is changing now, as there's more need to show women in like the public sphere. So yeah, obviously Disney is evolving.
All right, Disney is evolving, so is cinema. I want to go across to Namita. Namita, what would your take be?
What I believe right now is that with Disney, right, making movies with the princesses as the central theme, they are trying to put across this idea in very beginning. Disney is something which has a lot of younger viewership. So, this idea is being put across to females, young females, that you don't really need a Prince Charming to get through. So, feminism as such, I'm not really sure, but yes, they're trying to tell this that, you don't need anybody else. If you're a female, you don't need anyone else to be successful or be happy. So, not exactly feminist, but yes, a lot of stronger messages that it makes sense.
Yeah.
But then
Message is
ultimately, it's happening across the board in cinema. Would you agree with that? I mean, it's not just confined to animation or Disney. I mean, it's happening
Of
across
course,
the board.
you've had a lot of novels and literary work on that as well, and people have always been invested with this idea, right? I mean, even before the term, I guess, feminism came or womanism came. I mean, people in general have been invested with the idea, what next? Apart from being invested in the idea of total woman. I mean, there's this construct of a hero, and then you had this word heroine. Why couldn't it just be the word hero? I mean, now you no more use a poetess. You always use the word as poet. I mean, of course, right?
Yeah.
So at least in Maleficent, I mean, coming back to the point, I feel that this movie is endowed both with a villain and a hero. It's both a hero and an anti-hero, right? Because she's the one who rescues Aurora. And it's not the true love kiss of the guy, Philip maybe, I don't remember. Yeah, so it's not the true love of this guy who saves her, right? So it's actually a woman and talks about the woman bond, be it the daughter and mother bond, or be it the bond of sisterly love, just as we've seen in Frozen, right?
Alright.
So yeah, that is it.
Alright, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would also like to add, coming back to the same point that Namita was mentioning about how that it is not really a feminist criticism, but maybe we could also look at it as an evolution of how children's cinema or children's literature has evolved. You know, the fact that conventionally children have really been stereotyped as innocent beings who don't understand sexuality, but this has been constantly debunked by Freud and many psychoanalysts that
But Freud's been debunked by many.
yeah, okay, so let's go to other ones. But like, childhood is not innocent phase, and that you can see children nowadays, they talk about sexuality and they're talking about it. So I think it's also an interesting way that children's the whole, you know, the audience of children are being given
Understood.
more.
I think they're being understood a little more. But in terms of, see, in all these movies, the common theme seems to be that while the main protagonist might be a woman, the villain also, on the other hand, is a woman. So a woman taking on a woman. Is that also, I mean, it then reinforces the stereotype that, you know, women can't get along or whatever. So, I mean, the negative and the positives, both, I mean, being portrayed over there, how would you take that?
I mean, it's also the heteronormative form, you know, there's always been a man and a woman, and the fact that right now we are having such a huge movement towards homosexuality and about various ways in which families are looked upon. Can men make a home? Can women together adopt a children? There are so many larger themes that are coming upon. So I think that is what it explores on that. And as you was mentioning the other cinema, there was the very famous French movie which showed two women in love. I forget about it. It was a movie that came out last year which was quite explicit in its content.
Shame.
Yeah. So I don't remember, but it had it was looking at lesbianism and how it works, and how the fact that the dynamic between the couple was as strong as a heteronormative couple, and it was extremely difficult for the audience to imagine that two women in love are having the same problems as me with my boyfriend. How can that be possible? Because you want to distance yourself with them. So I think that is what I mean. I think people are beginning to talk about it. People are beginning to think about relationships in a different way. And definitely, I think these topics are being showcased.
At least the fact that we are covering it over here right now is a definitive pointer, right? I mean, at least it must have made some significant changes in the society. I mean, at least somewhere. So that people are
change might be slow, but it certainly is happening. But Ursula, as far as the vamp or the villain part goes, I mean, not the vamp, I'll use the term villain, but the villain is always a middle-aged woman. So what does that also say? I mean, it says that if you're alone, you could be unhappy, you could be sad. I mean, they're all, I mean, even Angelina Jolie is unhappy and alone in Maleficent, isn't she?
Yeah.
What's interesting about Maleficent is that Angelina Jolie has been shown as a victim also. Like, there is a whole rape scene. It's supposed to be rape, with her wings being cut off, which has been shown as rape. It's been sort of toned down for the kids to kind of understand exactly what happened with her. So in Maleficent, she's basically a victim and not the vamp, and then she becomes sort of like a character that you sympathize with, and probably some of her, you know, like her curses or evil ways are justified also in that sense.
just as Ursula pointed it out, I mean, just to elaborate on that, I mean, now that the characters, they too are changing, right? They're becoming more three-dimensional instead of being flat, as in classified as black and white, right? So, I mean, I would rather like to reference a tele-series which is going on, like Once Upon a Time. It's gonna come out next. So, over there, the scriptwriters are too invested in the character of Snow White and the evil witch, and there you see that Snow White is not all that white and pristine. She has shades of grey, and similarly the evil witch, she's actually nursing a kid, and so there's this back story about the witch, that why she is the way she is, and it was only because of Snow White that she actually became that dark. So I mean, series like these now, they tend to non-conform the stereotypes set in society, or even in the minds of as we children when we grew up. I mean, I don't know, like now it will be very problematic for kids to actually deal with it, like what's true and what's false. But then at least for us, I mean, it does give you another perspective.
Yeah. But the middle-aged woman point, Devika, as far as that is concerned, the middle-aged woman as the villain, I mean, that convention has been carried from the time of Snow White to Maleficent.
Yeah. No, it just shows that there are a lot of other trends to break, and also the point that you were making right before we started this conversation about the market. I mean, you can say that the market is ready to accept certain things, and it's a young market, and there are young people who understand this sort of thing about but we've not reached the middle age, maybe, maybe it's something that has to happen next 10 years where women or men will continue to remain unmarried to really understand that. So there are many more stereotypes still to break, I guess.
Alright, Namita, as far as stereotypes are concerned, an interesting fact that I was reading up on was the fact that most of the Disney couples did not end in marriage. I mean, there were about 8-10 of them. There were about, out of 50 odd movies, only about 8-10 of them ended up in marriage. So Disney that way has been pretty safe on marriage. I mean, it says yes, people fall in love and happily ever after, but they don't show the marriage every time.
Living is so common.
Talk about it. I mean, it always ends on a happily ever after. You don't really get to see the post love scene, what happens and how it figures out. The reality part is what is now more prominent in movies, more prominent in Disney movies to be specific. They're focusing on what actually happens as to what the rosy picture shows. Another thing that I would like to add is like these scenarios that we are talking about, women taking against women, and very gender-based rivalries that we focus upon. If you consider different circumstances, different issues have come up. Like if you talk about Brave is the princess against a wild beast, and a thing that has been carried on for centuries. That gets into the picture. Frozen is obviously women and women. It's not very consciously set. The premise that we take is very story specific.
No, but then you take a recent movie like The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz had 3 women in that, and James Franco is the wizard. And the 3 sisters, I mean, 2 of them turned villainous, and there is a sequel expected to show what happens to the Wicked Witch. But that's the point that I'm making is, I mean, that rivalry still continues. I think that's an easy sort of form to continue to have in your cinema.
That's where, the hugeness coming in. Till whenever you used to think of it, any evil or any vamp, if I must say, was associated to be with a woman, right? So that concept is slowly transforming, and there are also men in negative characters. There are also villains who take the center stage and show that they're all powerful. I can also take instances from Hindi mythology, wherein there are men who have been stronger villains, and then eventually the good has prevailed. Probably the shift is very slow, but it is happening. Till now, the evil character was women. Now the evilness is spread all over, and you're not only rosy when you're talking about a central character. You're not always black or grey when you're talking about a villain character.
All right, but the kind of characteristics that are attributed to, for example, a villain also, a woman who's villainous is not physically violent. She's very vile and portrayed as manipulative often. Somebody who's filled the ear of the king or schemer.
And she's still very attractive.
And she's still very attractive. And so that's the whole point. The entire thing of the woman, I mean, the seductress and the vamp, that kind of conventionality still continues. I mean, it's not a brutal, violent person who's...
I mean, there's this trope of femme fatale as well to it, right? I mean, a woman who's a seductress and then she avenges, I mean, she revenges, right? So that is also being incorporated into movies. And I mean, at least in this one, I can see, because the whole, if we're talking again about Maleficent, so the whole curse was about to take revenge on her supposed boyfriend by Maleficent, right? So yeah, that again could be seen in the trope of a femme fatale.
No, but it's also because there's a lot of voyeuristic pleasure that you derive in watching movies. I mean, it is while you're supposed to at one level identify with the movie, so that is the reason you start watching, and the voyeuristic pleasure comes from the other part, which you don't really want to show, and which are often, which happens with a lot of maybe not, which was not usually happening with animated movies, but other forms of movies, violence, for example. I mean, why do in animated movies when there is violence, why do people laugh? I mean, there's Tom and Jerry hitting each other, but you laugh because you get a, there's a voyeuristic pleasure. So I guess this is also some of those things that will precipitated over the times.
All right, but the use of sex is often something that perhaps one doesn't think about. Now you actually think about it, and that is the most commonly used weapon or tool. I mean, for Snow White, she had to be kissed to be woken up, and things like that. I mean, ultimately, it just is about fulfillment. And is that the stereotype that Disney has been perpetuating and is still perpetuating, that of using the romance, sex angle as the happily ever after?
But I guess these themes are more universal, right? I mean, Disney won't be able to let it go in order to start a protest.
Maybe Disney comes up with a film based on homosexuality.
Yeah, I think in Frozen or in Brave, they had a gay character.
Yeah, the Frozen has...
in Frozen.
And even
the bond which the two sisters share, a lot of critics have actually cited it as, it's more of a homosexual bond. I mean, I don't totally buy that, but then there has been criticism.
All right, on that note, we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming in, Ursula and Namita. It was a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you over here. And Devika and Zora, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
All right, so that was a little presentation on Disney and its princesses. Do you think the princesses are turning feminist or not? Well, write into us and tell us. Thanks so much for watching.